Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First and foremost, let's have another part of this discussion about the age of President Biden, how some folks say it is ageism against the president. But what about other political leaders who are either the same age, younger than him, or even older than him, and why they don't get that same treatment? We'll talk a little bit about that. Also, we're going to be checking in with voting rights expert Monet. Let me make sure I get her name up here, folks. We're going to be checking in with her in a moment to talk to us a little bit about the right to fight for voting rights. Monet Holder, who serves as the Director of Advocacy and Programs at Florida Rising. She's going to give us some insight about the voting rights issues, the latest with that Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, and the possibility of teenagers being pre-registered to vote, and how that may impact things. We'll have that conversation. And later, we check in with indie artist Tayana Yanni, who's going to talk about the power and value of the indie artist. So we'll have that conversation and a whole lot more. Stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Big shout out to the online culture crew that is just gathering in the chat right now. Love to see it. First and foremost, folks, happy Tuesday. That's right. We're broadcasting live on this day, December the 5th. Can you believe this, that the year of 2023 is almost over? I'm waking up like, damn. I mean, we're 5 days into December, folks, and in 26 days, God willing, we'll be able to see the end of this year and transition into the new year. But it just seems like, wow, it's been a wild, wild ride. But big shout out to my online culture crew that's been riding with me for this whole year, and I can't thank y'all enough. There you go. I see you, Pastor Damon Blissett. Good to connect with you once again, big brother. My brother Willie Frazier's in this chat. Brother Willie, good evening, good afternoon to everyone else. Good evening, Brother Willie. O is in the building. I like that, Brother Willie. Cindy D, I see you. Thank you so much for checking in. Monkey Confessions, that's right. Term limits for all of them. Yeah, Monkey, you getting into it already. Love it. Thank you for checking in. Tiana, hey, Tiana, good to connect with you once again. Pauline Hurt, Miss Pauline, thank you so much for checking in. You don't like my music? Ahoy, you don't like my music. Thank you so much. Rita, I see you. What's going on? She said, what up, FM? Love ya. Love ya too, Rita. Thank you so much. And folks are still gathering here in the chat. Folks, you can do the same as we stream it live on Roland Martin's YouTube page. Just check us out there. We're also streaming live on Facebook, but it's on that YouTube page where we're having the chat with the illustrious, the dynamic, the awesome culture crew. And they're going to be talking about some of these conversations. We're also streaming on a number of other platforms. Let's talk about them very quickly. First, our home platform at blackstarnetwork.com. Folks, that's the official platform. That's the official home of the Black Star Network. And of course, the culture here on the Black Star Network. You can go to our website today. You can see all of our past shows, all of our special streams, all of the things that we're doing to make sure that we are carving out a space in this digital place for a black face. How about that, right? So we're going to just definitely make sure that you support us here at Black Star Network. Download the app for free. Follow us on social media. And of course, your financial donations make a world of difference in making sure that we continue to have the power, the trust, the confidence, and of course, the resources that we need to make this thing happen. So please, please, please don't forget to support us while you're on there. We're also streaming on Amazon News and your Fire TV, Amazon Prime Video as well. You can find us on Prime Video app under Live TV, The News, or find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video, Live TV, The News. We're also on Freevee. You can find us there on Now under News and on Plex TV 24/7. All you have to do is search for Black Star Network, Live TV, The News, and Opinion. All right, folks, let's talk a little bit about this. Let's first talk about this ageism situation that is a constant discussion as we talk about the reelection of President Biden. But and then we and there are many, there have been some of you who have said, how come we're not talking about President Trump's age? How come we're not saying the same thing? How come we're not seeing the same thing? Well, USA Today put out a piece that speaks to that same sentiment. That what we're seeing, the level of scrutiny that we have been giving to the president about his age is not always applied to other political leaders. Now, it has recently came to the forefront, especially as we saw some political leaders standing at the podium freezing up. And I'm speaking of Mitch McConnell. We saw Dianne Feinstein, who has been undergone her medical situation. So all of those things kind of came up around the same time. And then you have the gaffes of President Joe Biden, whether it's from the past or whether it's from this present time of his service in the White House. People have been noticing like the stumbles, the gaffes, the fall off the bike, all of these things are giving people pieces of a picture saying that this president may not be able to handle another term, right? Even though you have people who have voted for the Democratic Party for the past elections, they are very, very concerned. Voters are very concerned, and it's understandable, but is it justified in the sense that how about Senator Bernie Sanders? Did you know Senator Bernie Sanders is 1 year older than President Joe Biden? Did you know that? Okay, if you did not know that, now you know. But even more so, isn't it something that Senator Bernie Sanders, as much as he has been doing and involved, we don't put him in the same category? Those who are part of the quote unquote Bernie bros, or those of us who just say, okay, we're looking for an alternative candidate that has still a part of a major platform, that has some innovative ideas, maybe he's the guy. And he has ran for president in 2016, 2020, and people are still looking to him for guidance, insight, but they don't see him as an old man. And part of the thing that this piece in USA talked about, and I was trying to wrap my mind around it. So, folks, I want you to share your thoughts on it as well. So, post your comments in the chat. But I think it's coming down to, and this is what one voter that was highlighted in this article for USA Today said. He made the very interesting point. And I think that this speaks volumes about where we are. He said, this is a gentleman by the name of Mr. Lasco. Now, Mr. Lasco is a registered independent. He supported Bernie Sanders' presidential bids in 2016 and 2020. His decision, according to the article, to support a political candidate has less to do with their age and more to do with where they stand on certain issues. All right. He said, quote, youth does not make you better, nor does age for wisdom. Whether you're here to help your fellow man is what the biggest concern. I like that. I like that. I like that a lot, right? It's not about youth. It's about your ability to serve your fellow man. But then there's the other part of that it's not just about age, but it's about policy. And age and policy can't be independent of itself. That if you have a certain stance, if you vote a certain way on a certain number of these key issues that we've been talking about, whether it's abortion, healthcare, education, police accountability, any one of these policies, that people will not look at your age if your policies are progressive. Once your policies seem to be antiquated and outdated, then the age question comes up. And I was thinking to myself, crew, big brain moment, boom. It's policy. If we're seeing older, more seasoned veterans in the political space who are much more progressive in their thinking, who are still able to some degree have a connection to the next generation, have a connection to the middle class voter, the connection to the middle age voter, and all of these things, right? Because of their progress, their personal evolution of their politics. which leads to the policies that they push forward. Age takes a backseat. And that's why, what's this, one of the things that was highlighted in this piece from USA Today, that's why Bernie doesn't seem quite as old as Biden, even though, guess what? He's still older than Biden. All right, so I want to get your take on this, folks. What do you think about that? Do you think that that will make a difference? Is President Biden, and I'm going to say this, and I know we gotta take a quick pause, but if President Biden was more progressive, right? If he seemed to have fresher ideas, and I'm not saying that he hasn't done anything, but I'm just saying he kind of, one of the things I know the president has often touted has been kind of working across the aisles and really kind of sticking to a certain format, certain way to get the support he needs for his proposals and ideas. But if he showed more progressive policies than what he has been, than what we've seen from him, that the age question may start to fade away. All right, let me hear what you got to say now, Tiana. All right, Tiana, you ain't gotta go off on me like this. You said I'm over this damn topic. Yeah, I get it, but guess what? For voters, it's important, folks. And like I said, I'm going to be talking to a voting rights expert in the next segment, and we're going to just get a little her insight on this. But this is important to voters, folks. This is a big, important thing for voters. You don't like my music? You said I don't like Gavin Newsom either, but he would be a much better candidate. Mm, okay, okay. McCole, you say 45 is 77 years old and running for president of again. I'm just saying. And guess how he has surrounded himself with young Republicans, younger men, younger women. He has tapped into an energy in the GOP party that has allowed him to kind of transcend age, right? Because now he has all of these young guys and these younger women, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and all of these younger folks around him to show that he's not looking like an old man. And he talks war. He talks like a man that's going to go out into the battlefield. I'm gonna fight for you, and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. But that's a different energy. That's a different energy. So appreciate you for that one, McCole. Um, Now, Benny, you said age shouldn't matter if your policies are reflective of the culture. And that's all we're talking about, Benny. That's all exactly what we're talking about. If the policies seem out of date, out of touch from where the culture of the people are, then guess what? Your age is going to come up. Your age is going to show. Your age is going to show. Kathleen Davis, good point, Benny. You said, Kathleen, hey, culture crew, I don't know, old man, but the young men just aren't getting it done. Mm, mm. We're going to have to see on that one. Tiana, you said the economy is more important to voters. It is. It is. So what's the view of the economy, though? Is the economy should be the markets will fix itself. We should continue to support capitalism as it is, or should we shift to something? President Obama, when he had given his speech, and I'm going to take a quick pause after this. President Obama, when he gave his speech for the Obama Foundation just a few weeks ago, when they were marking the 15 years since he was in Grant Park, when he had, it was that moment where he was the president of the United States, him and his family came out, and they did this big thing, and we talked about it here. But he said in his speech for the Obama Foundation that we need to redefine capitalism. And I'll never forget this. He said have a more inclusive capitalism. This is the terminology that he used. Inclusive capitalism, right? So he is redefining the conversation about economy. And I'm just using this as an example for you, Tiana, that if people are seeing the great disparity between the haves and the have-nots, the uber wealthy and the middle class, right? And then you have the poor, all of these folks, right? And then you're talking about something that people really want to talk about. We folks want to truly believe that if you pull up your bootstraps and you get a great education, that you're gonna succeed. And we know that that's not the case. That's just not the case. So the fact that President Obama is putting out a variation, a little nuance to something that we have been believing, but now we're starting to lose faith in, it shows some level of evolution, some level of progression. And if, again, folks, going back to what you said, Benny, you're talking about the policies are in tuned with the culture, in tuned with the wants, the needs, the desires of the people, then guess what's going to happen? Then you're not going to be seen as an older person. You're going to be seen as a trailblazer. You're not going to be seen as one in the back holding people back. You're going to be seen as the one that's leading the way. All right, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk a little bit more about this with our very special guest, our first guest for the day. And we got some other issues I want to talk to our sister about. Her name is Monet Holder. She's going to be joining us in a moment. Let's talk about voting rights. Let's talk about political engagement and advocacy and so much more. Folks, we're just getting started here on the first half of the show. So stay with us. You tune into The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Wanted to switch gears just a tad bit as we talk about Biden's age paradox to where do voters really look for? What are the big concerns for the voter right now, whether you're talking about black voters, white voters, Latino voters, whoever? What are the big concerns and what are some of the major challenges right now that we're going to have to really delve deep into and to advocate for, so that way voters can be seen and heard, and the presence of the American voter will be felt on election days all across this country as we kick off the election season starting next year. So we wanted to have this conversation, and I'm very, very excited and happy to have my first guest for the day. She serves as the Director of Advocacy and Programs at Florida Rising, and she is a voting rights expert. We welcome her to the airwaves of the culture here on the Black Star Network, Sister Monet Holder. Monet, thank you so much for joining us. How are you feeling this afternoon?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
Absolutely. I'm good. I'm good, Monet. All right, I'm gonna pick your brain a lot during this conversation. So just be prepared.
Okay.
Um, First thing is, let's talk a little bit about this Biden age paradox. How big or how important is this thing for voters, whether it's white voters or black voters, or is there any difference, or are folks still the same? How important is the age of the president for voters?
I think it's both. And, people definitely look at age as an indicator of whether you are fit to lead or fit to serve. Health wise, that's one part. But then also in the way that you shape your thinking and your policies. If you're quote unquote too old and outdated, what you're trying to move in this country and how it impacts folks' day-to-day lives can definitely be out of touch. So you may have said it, but I think people are looking for Biden or whoever is going to be at the top of the ticket or in the White House to definitely connect to them so that they're actually seeing change in their everyday lives. So if you aren't making that connection, regardless of what age you are, it's highly unlikely that you will get the voter support and voter turnout that you need.
Absolutely. But it's an important thing for us to have, right? And the conversation about term limits and everything, does that fall under voting rights, or is that another part of political engagement for you?
I think we definitely look into term limits as an overarching view on expanding democracy. Again, because it allows us to get not just fresh blood, but people who align with our politics, our ideologies, and progressiveness into office. You have folks who sit in a seat and die in a seat, and never have actually been able to make change. But voting rights overall for us, the core of it has just been voter suppression at this time. We've seen so many attacks. I'm based in Florida. I live in Jacksonville, Florida, but my work is statewide. And we've seen attacks on access to the ballot box coming from every direction, from the local and the state level, as well as federally. So that's what our focus has been thus far as it relates to voting rights.
And so this is a major challenge because there are a number of states. I mean, of course, Florida is in the mix of things just because of the Republican controlled leadership there. But there are a number of states that are going through some very, very serious changes around voting, and especially around the whole redistricting map, like we're seeing in North Carolina and Georgia and in a few other states. How does this thing play out? Because how does the black voter in particular, because you're talking to black folks now. Now we have some heated debates on this platform, Monet, about the role of the black voter, right? And I've tried to do my best as a host and as a moderator to try to highlight as many different views around this conversation. But people are still, and I think for a large majority of black folks, we still see the pathway to political power is through the ballot box, going out to actually vote. Now, as a voting rights advocate and expert, give us some insight as to what does the landscape look like in 2023 going into 2024.
Yeah, so redistricting fights are happening across the country. We know, the purpose of redistricting is to draw new maps based on increase in population. It comes after the census, and it's supposed to be a way to ensure equitable representation. But we know that gerrymandering is a real thing. We know that predominantly Black and Brown communities, Black specifically, we're either packed all together or cracked up, so we don't have a lot of voting power. What we've seen is that leading up into the presidential election, states have been really bold. I'll speak to Florida specifically, but it remains the same across the country. Governor Ron DeSantis decided that he was going to insert himself into the redistricting process, actually bully the legislature into passing gerrymandered maps and dilute Black representation in congressional districts across the state by 50%. Yes, so he did it. He wasn't shy about it. The entire process, which usually includes like a roadshow and more public participation, was botched from the start. definitely discouraging voters from, speaking their piece and saying why their communities should stay together, why they should have representation. And despite tons of advocacy, groups on the ground, protests, letters, we still ended up with gerrymandered maps. Now, one thing that or a tool I call in our toolbox that we've had to resort to many a times and will continue to do is litigation. So we've sued on the local level, and Florida Rising, for example, won a redistricting case here in Jacksonville for city council maps because gerrymandering happens at every level. And we also sued the state and the governor around the gerrymandered maps that impacted our congressional districts. We've been in legal challenges back and forth, and a court ruled that we could win at least one congressional district 5 back. But this week, actually, we heard that a appeals court overturned that. So now we're taking.
Wow.
Yeah. So they ruled in favor of DeSantis's gerrymandered maps, which took back the one district that we were getting back that traditionally was held by a Black member of Congress. So now we're taking that fight to the Supreme Court, but it's spinning our wheels, it's extending our resources. Just to have access to the ballot box, just to have Black representation. So that's what it looks like. That's what it's looking like in places like Alabama, in Texas. And in addition to just redistricting itself, there are laws being passed at the legislative level that restrict access, whether it's vote by mail, whether it's early voting sites and hours, implementing elections police to intimidate and discourage voters from voting, anything from attacking third-party voter registration groups and making it harder for us, because we're the ones on the ground registering Black folks to vote, to do what we need to do to make sure we're shifting power at the ballot box. So that's what it looks like.
No, I'm sorry. I want to pick your brain some more, sis, but I got to take this quick pause.
On and on. So
no, it's all good because this is what we do. But no, I gotta take a quick pause. But I'm wondering, because I don't want us to have. I mean, you're in the fight, you're in the trenches, and I want us to have a very good view of what we're looking at. So when we come forward from the break, I want you to give us some insight as to who is most impacted. And it's easy to be like Black people.
Yes.
But which segment of our people are most impacted, right? Because I think that will help us to lay out some sort of a ground game on how we start to move, right? So if we're talking about seniors, our elders, right? You're talking about 60 plus. If you're talking about, 30 to 55, if you're talking about 18 to 35, who are the most impacted when we're talking about gerrymandering and redistricting and all of that and the games that we're playing? Because this will set up, and I truly believe this, that if we play these type of moments correctly, we can not only talk about getting voting rights back into place, but we could talk about how do we drop seeds for the next generation of political leaders to come up, because they're seeing this injustice happen. And we can use that as fuel for the fire to get some new blood at least into the state houses across this country. So I want to get your take on that and a whole lot more. Folks, we are heating up right now as we check in with Monet Holder, who serves as the Director of Advocacy and Program for the organization Florida Rising, and she's a voting rights advocate. Folks, share your thoughts and post your comments and questions as we are streaming live on Roland Martin's YouTube channel. And of course, stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause to long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. I've been checking in with my Sister Monet Holder, who is the Director of Advocacy and Programs for Florida Rising down in Jacksonville, Florida. She's also a voting rights advocate and expert to give us some insight as to what we're seeing right now. All right, so here come the barrage of questions. First and foremost, Sister Monet, let's talk about who are the most impacted by gerrymandering and redistricting? And I heard Black people, I know that, but which segment of our people are impacted the most by these strategies and tricks and tactics?
So I was going to say everybody, all of us. But no, truly, the redistricting issue is it's voter suppression at its core, but it's about race and class. Depending on where you live and how much money you make, that determines the representation that the powers that be think you should have or should be afforded to. So if you are living in a lower or middle class area of a state or city, you are going to be packed into one district, which will dilute your voice across the entire state or across your entire city. And therefore, you have lack of representation, you have lack of resources that continue to remain the same until the next redistricting cycle, when you hope that the redrawing of the maps is more representative of you, because of two things. Number one, the resources are scarce. And number two, you don't have the opportunity to represent someone who looks like you or has your best interest at heart.
Yeah.
It also impacts Black folks who live in rural communities, because when you live in a rural community, it's a very different landscape. So again, you have someone who doesn't understand exactly what your daily struggles are, what your daily needs are for your community. And therefore you become, null and void to them, both as a voter and as someone who has a stake in community. It also, your Black immigrant community, that looks a lot different across anywhere. And you need specific representation, but also specific messaging, tailoring the way you can get involved and the way you, your community, and your family can be supported. And those are typically not someone who candidates or others target as, likely voters. So they definitely don't prioritize them during election cycle and don't prioritize them during the redistricting process. And lastly, I would also name Black youth. And I mentioned that because even in a state like Florida, when we see things like early voting sites or election sites in general being reeled back, they target our historically Black colleges and universities. And we know that, number one, Black students vote, but we also vote when it's easy, right? So if our college campuses aren't early voting sites or voting locations, the likelihood of us turning out or voting is slim to none. So when we're being redistricted and you're putting an HBCU in an area that's represented by a right-leaning legislator, we know, again, the prioritization of voters getting to the ballot
Good
box,
point.
area getting resourced, is slim to none. So that's where we really see the impacts of redistricting after the process is said and done.
I ain't got nothing else to ask you. I don't have nothing else to ask you, sis. Thank you for your time. No, let me stop. Well, that's the type of stuff that I think that we should be hearing more of. And I thank you, and I truly, truly appreciate you. Real talk. I appreciate you for breaking it down like that, because Black youth, elders, Black immigrants, this is the stuff that I hope that people can that gives people a context of what all of the challenges that we're facing. And when you're talking about these things, when I'm hearing Black immigrants, Black youth, and Black elderly, we're talking about the future of the Black community. We're talking about the future of the Black community. Let me just pose a couple of questions from our online culture crew. This is our dynamic groups of supporters and watchers. They're from all over the country, Monet, and they love watching the show. They love to chat. So many of them are checking in online. And again, folks, if you're just tuning in, we're streaming right now here on Roland Martin's YouTube page, and that's where you can be a part of the illustrious culture crew. All right. So my big brother, Willie Frazier, said he got some questions. Brother Willie's a thinker. He said, question one, can you talk to the voter purge here in Florida and what should be done to make sure we're on the rolls?
Yes. So purging is something that has been happening since I first got into this work many years ago. And it's by design to remove voters off of the voting rolls, right? When I first came into this space, I remember one of the basis behind purging voters was because they had Hispanic sounding last names and therefore couldn't at all be eligible or valid voters, right? Sounds crazy, but it's what they were doing and we had to take action around it. Now, purging is happening in many different ways. Either if you are quote unquote inactive and maybe haven't updated your voter registration, or they can't contact you, they may pull you off of the roll. If, here in Florida, we had a ballot initiative called Amendment 4, which was hopefully going to restore the right to vote to formerly incarcerated individuals once they've completed their sentence. And then the legislature implemented a law that restricted that based on fines and fees. So then has removed that eligibility for many of 1.5 million folks to vote. But that is also another way in which purging happens. So we've been on like the defense and trying to do proactive measures. Number one, to have folks check their voter registration status prior to the deadline to make sure you are on the rolls. And if you're not, you can either go to organizations like ours or go to your supervisors of elections office and re-register so you can cast a ballot in the next upcoming election. Also doing a tight watch on supervisors of elections offices. So in Florida, we have 67 counties with 67 supervisors of elections, and they all run things a little differently. There's no blanketed uniformity. So you may have 14 hours of early voting in one county and 8 in another, or 14 days, and 8 in another. And they may purge differently. So we have been doing rounds of meetings with SOEs, trying to figure out how are they pulling lists, how are they doing quote unquote list maintenance, and how we can get in contact with those voters to make sure that they were rightfully purged.
Mm-hmm.
Or to get them back on the roll. So it's really been put in the hands of grassroots organizations. Some of the theory or process behind why they're purging people could be valid. It could be someone who's deceased or, no longer eligible. But a lot of it is targeted voter suppression. So once we figure that out, we've really been asking folks to just re-register and stay vigilant about keeping themselves on the voting rolls.
Excellent question, Big Brother Willie. Thank you so much for posting that. I want to get your take on what we saw with this recent ruling, the 2-1 ruling by the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit, Monet, where they said that private litigants no longer have the right to enforce Section 2 of the Voter Rights Act of 1965, which was, of course, enacted to ensure the right to vote isn't diminished or denied on account of race. And so essentially, this ruling would bar individuals and civil rights groups from bringing future lawsuits to enforce their rights under a provision that they have been using for nearly 60 years to address racial discrimination in voting. So this is something, and this is a piece I'm reading from, is from The Hill. But talk to us about Section 2 being gutted the way that it was just gutted with this recent ruling. And more importantly, how should we respond to that as Black voters?
Of course. So I mentioned earlier that litigation has been our most powerful and frequently used tool in our toolbox, and they've caught on to that. So they've seen both the power of us, getting the resources that we need to litigate, because it is costly. And they've also seen us win in a lot of states across the country. So in order to prohibit that, they've gutted Section 2, but gutting the Voting Rights Act is not something that is new to us. They did the same thing in Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act and preclearance protections, where states like Florida were covered from any election laws that may disproportionately impact voters of color in certain areas throughout the state. They removed that from us as well. It was interesting. In last month, actually, I spent about 2 weeks in Geneva, Switzerland, because the United Nations was doing their review of the Human Rights Committee and a treaty that the U.S. has with the United Nations on certain issues. And this one was particularly about human rights. So myself, along with advocates from across the country, spoke on different issues. And the issue I spoke on was about voting rights. I met with different, dignitaries and folks on the United Nations Human Rights Committee about our issues, and they made recommendations at the end, and many of which was not only to, take up our recommendation to restore the Voting Rights Act, but that also voting should be upheld as a fundamental right.
Right.
Saying that, I met with some folks from the U.S. Department of Justice and really trying to figure out how do we leverage the DOJ in these instances in which the Voting Rights Act is continuously gutted, but these are violations of, our justice, our fundamental right to vote, and how and which are they supporting us through that department. So that's an avenue that we're exploring now. The DOJ, we will still figure out ways in which we can bring litigation. One thing I'll mention too is every time like an organization, a civil rights group, starts a case against whether it's the state or federal government as it relates to voting rights, we also have individual plaintiffs, people from community who are bringing forth litigation based on how they are impacted. So we encourage folks on the ground in community to continue to get involved, continue to be engaged, and don't shy away from standing up in the courts against some of these injustices, because if we can't do it, we definitely need you to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know that this is an ongoing battle. I mean, all of next year, I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of groups like Florida Rising and other voting advocacy groups that are going to be on the front lines to say, all right, we need to have a different game plan, because that's something that we've relied on, as I mentioned, for the past 60 years. And now they're trying to knock the legs from right underneath of us, something to stand on. And it should empower us. It should embolden us to move forward. Let me get your final take on this. And Monet, I got to bring you back, sis. I'm going to just let you know you won't be on rotation here on the culture. Got to bring you back because you're bringing some great stuff. What'd you say?
I would be happy to come back anytime.
Okay, awesome. All right, let me get your take on this. Last week on Thursday, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, she signed into law a series of measures allowing ex-convicts and teenagers new voting rights for the 2024 election cycle. This is big, y'all. So she signed these package of bills on Thursday. The first will allow eligible individuals to vote in an upcoming election after they are released from prison. That's in the state of Michigan. Now, taking it to the next level, she said the second will allow 16 to 17-year-olds to pre-register to vote. What are we seeing with this? Now, I'm going to focus on the youth part, and we'll bring you back and talk about the ex-convict part in a little bit. But focus on the youth part. What is the 16 and 17? Because I'm starting to hear some rumblings, Monet, around the country that people are saying, well, maybe we should let 16 and 17-year-olds go to the ballot box. And so when I saw this, I was like, let me ask Monet, what is she saying? What are you hearing? What is this pre-registering, and what does this mean?
So yeah, we've been pre-registering 16 and 17-year-olds for quite some time. And it's really to make sure that at the moment that they turn 18, they have access and the opportunity to vote. We know, I remember being 16 and 17 and knowing exactly what's going on in my community. Come from
you were special.
I was
you had some special, you had some great people around you. You got family that gave a damn.
Yes.
I'm serious. I was the same way. I was like, all right, let me see what's going on.
So I knew what was happening. I knew what elections were coming up and who was voting, and they're informed, right? So they do have a say so in what's happening. But I will say that that period in between where you're about to turn 18 can get tricky with voter registration deadlines and when you need to be registered in order to vote for the upcoming election. So pre-registering definitely has its benefits because and I remember being 16 and 17 and not being so responsible. So would I meet the deadline to vote? Would I actually sign up on time for the election? So I think it takes that responsibility off of students to remember deadlines like that, but it also gives them the opportunity to immediately participate in the upcoming elections that will, impact them for the next, several years. So I think it's a brilliant idea. It's something that we've done. What we've had to do, though, is because it's not like a standard, piece of legislation, is work closely with the school board or individual principals or other organizations that students come in contact with in order to have access to them to pre-register. But having a state take that initiative is definitely huge and a big deal and shows that we're moving in the right direction in certain places as it relates to democracy.
So very quickly, we got like 30 seconds, but when we say 16 and 17-year-olds pre-registering, that doesn't mean that they are able to vote in the 2024 election, right?
And if they're 17 and they will turn 18 in time for the election, then yes, and they will already be able to vote.
But when you're 16, then what's happening there?
It's still just pre-registration.
So that means that your name will be added to the rolls of what? Where how would you categorize a 16-year-old?
Well, you have to put in your date of birth and all of your information. So it's almost like pre-populating it, and then it triggers a registration once you reach the age of 18. So you don't have to go in and fill out a form and provide your
okay.
Let's say you've moved to another county, another area, then you just do a registration update, but you pre-register. So in time, once you turn 18, you're eligible to vote for that very next upcoming election.
Wow. So that political engagement, that political activism essentially starts early, because if you have the presence of mind to even say, oh, I want to be pre-registered, you're talking about you're going to be getting into the process very early. Okay. Got to have a separate conversation about that one, because a lot of people would.
Voter registration too, which is something we've been fighting for. We could talk about that another time.
Yeah, absolutely. Monet, I cannot thank you enough for your brilliance, your insights, your expertise. Tell us how folks can get more information about Florida Rising and the work that you're doing.
Sure, you can go to floridarising.org, our website, or FL Rising on Twitter, or Florida Rising on Facebook. All the things.
Awesome. Monet Holder, who serves as the Director of Advocacy and Programs for Florida Rising. She is also a voting rights advocate and expert. And Monet, thank you so much for being so good for the culture, but trust and believe we will certainly bring you back, sis. But thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate you
for having me.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, Let's have a conversation. Let's shift gears talking about politics. Let's talk about arts and entertainment. Let's talk about the power and value of the indie artist. I'm going to be checking in with indie artist Tiana Yanni to talk to us about her work, her story, and she got a little something, something for the Christmas season that's coming up. We'll talk a little bit about that. So stay with us. The conversation about the culture on the other side will continue right here on the culture, here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation as we're streaming live on a host of different platforms, including our very important platform, our home platform, blackstarnetwork.com. Make sure you do your due diligence. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free. Follow us on all social media under Black Star Network. And of course, we ask for your financial donations to help make this network a force to be reckoned with in the digital space. So go down and check it out today. And we truly, truly appreciate you for your support. We're streaming live right now on Amazon News, on your Fire TV, on Amazon Prime Video, folks. You can find us there on the Prime Video app under Live TV and News, or on Amazon.com under Prime Video Live TV, the News. You can also find us on Freevee right there on now at News. And you can find us on Plex TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just search for Black Star Network. We're also on social media spaces, including Facebook. You can find us there under Roland Martin. And it's on Roland Martin's YouTube page, his famous YouTube page, that we're also streaming there. And you could be a part of the illustrious culture crew there on YouTube. All right, folks, I'm very, very excited about our next very special guest. She is a sister who has a dynamic story. She is a singer, she's a songwriter, and she is an independent artist that is making some waves within the industry. We want to welcome to the airways of the culture here on the Black Star Network, our sister Tiana Yanni. Tiana, thank you so much for checking in and being a part of the conversation. How you feeling?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Absolutely, absolutely. First and foremost, there's so many things I want to ask you, so I'm gonna try to work through all of this, because you bring a lot to the table, Tiana. You got a lot going on. First and foremost, congratulations. Yeah, I definitely believe, I know it's in order, because you have a couple of your songs that are being featured in the upcoming BET special, Christmas Angel, and so. We are definitely looking forward to that. There's a little bit of the photos from everything that was happening, and so I'm gonna get your take on that. Well, first, how did you feel about that when your songs were chosen? Because I was told that there were a lot of other submissions for the opportunity, but obviously your song just rose to the top and became the song of the movie. So how did you feel about that?
Yes, it was an amazing experience. Just being there was unbelievable. Like it's something that's so hard to explain. Like once you're there and you are just amongst so many great people and talents, it's such a blessing.
Absolutely. I can only imagine. All right, let's take it back to some time, because some folks may not be familiar with who you are and the work that you do, and that's okay. And that's why you're here today, because we want to kind of put some light on who you are as an artist, but also your story, because you have a very, very, very compelling personal story. Talk to us about your pathway to music here. How did you get into the industry? What made you want to become a singer?
Yeah, so it all started. I was adopted, and my father bought me my first CD because he heard me singing around the house, and the first CD was a Yolanda Adams CD, and
Mm.
I mimicked everything she did on that album. I would perform for the entire household over and over again. My dad bought me a mic stand and a mic. When he did that, it was over with. I
Wow.
Yes. So I would perform in front of my mirror. I was, in my mind, a star.
Right, right.
So that's when it started. So he forced me, and I'm gonna say forced because I was too nervous to sing my first solo in church, and that song was one of Yolanda Adams' song called "That Name."
Mm.
That was my first solo, and that was the first time that, even though I was nervous, it felt right. I was, I believe, 12 years old when I sang that song, and history since then. He also, him and my mom signed me up for piano lessons, and I was initially learning like the Beethoven, all the classical songs. And shout out to my piano teacher. Her name was Mrs. Ledbetter, and she realized that I wasn't so much into that, so she bought me an Alicia Keys composition book. And yeah, after that, I really dug into what I personally liked, and dug into playing the piano and playing for myself, writing songs for myself. So that's really when it started. I just fell in love
So
with it.
it started with the seed of your father putting it in. He putting that seed, dropping that seed in you, and saying, "Hey, I
Yeah,
think you should do this. This is something
yeah,
that you have a knack for."
yes.
How important is that for an artist, though, to be affirmed like that for a fan, by family, by friends? How really important? We talk a little bit about it, right? But how
Mhm.
important is that for an emerging artist like yourself?
It's so important. It's your foundation, because if you don't have that, like there's so much negativity in the world, you have enough of that. So it feels good to always have a home base to go to. So my mom and dad have always been that for me, my friends, close friends and family. It's very, very important. It keeps you going, it keeps you grounded, it keeps you remembering your why you're doing this. So
Absolutely. Look, we got to take another quick pause, Tiana. When we come forward, I want to talk about now that you're in the music industry. You kind of got through the underground parts of it. Now you're moving into the mainstream part of the music industry. You know how you're navigating through an industry that is evolving, that is certainly changing. There are a lot of big conversations about artist accountability. There's a lot of big conversations about being a Black performing artist like yourself. And so I want to kind of get your take and pick your brain on that. Plus, crew, I want to get your questions as we have singer and songwriter Tiana Yanni joining us here today to talk about the power and value of the independent artist, of the indie artist. We would love to get your questions as well. So, folks, stay with us. We're just getting started in the second half of the culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation as I'm checking in with singer and songwriter Tiana Yanni, who is a dynamic sister who has something to offer to the culture by way of her voice. And her some of her songs are now being featured in BET Plus's production, A Christmas Angel, and that's streaming right now on BET Plus, and you can hear her her music online as well, and I'm gonna just let my crew know, if we to my production team to make sure that we get a copy, or we can pull up her Bandzoogle as well, so that way we can see that as well. But Tiana is doing her part to try to bring something new, different, and fresh to the industry. And that's what I'm finding here, Tiana, as a woman that's coming into this as an emerging artist. You're coming into an industry that I believe is going through some serious changes, right? I think across the board is entertainment that's happening. So talk to me about how you're navigating through the industry as of in 2023, because it's much different than what it was, say, 10 years ago, 15 or 20 years ago, especially for
Definitely.
Black vocal artists like yourself. So talk to me, how are you navigating with given we're in a time where artist accountability is being questioned. We're in the Me Too movement. Of course, we know about what happened with Diddy and all of that, right? We're in that space. We're in a time where artists are becoming part of the haves and losing touch with those who do not have in some
Yeah.
cases, right? Like the lifestyle and everything. So, how are you navigating through all of this?
Yeah. Shout out to you and your show, first of all, because platforms like this definitely do help indie artists with our exposure. So I would definitely say that with all that's going on, it just highlights how important it is to stay true to yourself, to proceed through everything you do with morality, and continuing to stay true to your values.
Mm.
So definitely, this is one thing that I plan to 100% do for myself. I definitely want to stay true to my values, never do anything that is something that I do not believe in. So I definitely want to navigate through this industry like that, which is definitely tough.
Right. Oh
Uh,
yeah. I mean, I would think it is tough because you got a lot of people that are around you. Somebody can say, "Oh, Tiana, you have a beautiful voice. We can take you to the next level if you do A, B, and C, or if you kind of take this pathway." And then I got people that will meet you on the other side. Is it scary for you though? It's in some cases it's kind of a little bit anxiety filled because you are kind of going into some uncharted territory, especially when your family, they're not in the industry. And your friends, they're not in the industry. They're cheering you on. Everybody's like, "Oh, Tiana's great," but you're walking
yeah,
this walk, not by yourself, but by yourself.
yeah. So I definitely keep a group around me, like my day ones,
Right,
that
right, right.
have they keep me grounded. And shout out to one of my closest friends, Tanya. Like, she has always told me, like, if there's one thing that someone wants you to do that I know you're not gonna do, I'm gonna say something, right? So
Right,
definitely
right.
having those key partners around you is so important. And to answer your question, I'm not nervous about that. Um, I am okay with saying no. And
Okay.
every paycheck is not a good paycheck. And I think that a lot of artists struggle with that, with having to say yes to a lot of things that you're not comfortable with. And I'm still learning that myself. So that's definitely one thing that I'm not nervous about.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because you represent not just yourself. You represent a whole other group of folks that are counting on you to win.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't hear
Absolutely.
about it if it's something.
Oh yeah, and see, you know what? And honestly, Tiana, like I've been in working in the media for a long time, and that's the one thing that I truly, truly appreciate. That whoever's around me, and I try to keep a very humble spirit, and just this is what I do, but it doesn't consume me to the point that it gets to my head, like, oh, I'm that guy. You know what I mean? But I try to keep everybody. I want people to tell me the truth. I want people to be
Right.
honest with me, and they can show their honesty with care, with love. But at the end of the day, yes, I don't need a bunch of yes men and yes women. My production
Yes.
team, anybody that's rolling with me, I want them to be like, hey, Faraj, you know what? That was a terrible idea. or that was, or you know what, Faraj, you should do more of that because it really works. So it's hard to try to find it. Have you found that building those relationships is it been easy for you or has it been a challenge?
So far it's been pretty easy. And it starts like even from the music production. My producer with Alio Music, like he's definitely been very helpful also with knowing my voice, knowing what I will sing, will not sing. So it's been a pretty easy transition.
That's good. That's awesome. That is awesome. I want to kind of get your take on this, and then we're going to take another quick pause. When you're talking about the next generation, a lot of artists, well, I'm gonna say some artists didn't go the traditional route, and I want you to kind of share with us what was the route that you took, especially as an indie artist, to even get seen and to get some level of distribution and to get some level of support from the mainstream institutions within the music industry. Because now we're seeing artists using social media as a way to get put on. Is that still the trend right now, or is that like slowly dying off? Because you used to have SoundCloud, people be on YouTube, people are on IG. Everywhere I go, Tiana, somebody is singing or rapping on social media. And I'm wondering to myself, like, damn, are they just like, what are you doing this for? You trying to get signed? Like, what are you doing this for? What do you see? Do you look at social media and be like, girl, oh my girl, like, what are we seeing right now? What's the current culture for the indie artists right now?
Yeah. So yeah, it used to be, SoundCloud was like our go-to. But I still agree with you. Social media definitely has a huge impact on the indie artists. And I think quality speaks out for itself. Like you said, there are a lot of artists that are singing and rapping, but consistency and quality are definitely two things that are going to help that indie artist.
How was you discovered? How did you get to the place that you're at right now?
Yeah, so consistency.
Okay.
Definitely that. I have a lot of songs that are not released yet. So it really just is about consistency and having a good team behind you.
Did you use social media as often?
Yes, I do use social media, but I am still working on my following. So it's not a huge following yet, but yeah, definitely just having that team behind you is definitely helpful with building connections outside of social media, and also getting a publicist is very helpful.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Tiana. I could not agree with you more. You need to help to get your face out there, your message out there. So having a publicist means a lot. Look, I'm gonna take another pause. When we come forward, Tiana, I want to get your take on a couple of other conversations. Like I said, I really want to get your view on. In hip hop, we're seeing this, and I don't know how this will manifest itself on the R&B side. But in hip hop, artists are being challenged to hold their messages accountable. I never forget Fat Joe. He was on CNN a couple of nights ago. Tiana, the man said 95% of what I rap is a lie. I want you to just hold on to that, right? He said this, and he stuck by. He's like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. 95% of what I said is a lie. He said, I'm a family man. I'm not in the streets anymore, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. But it's forcing, like, this is so interesting and ironic that in the 50-year anniversary of hip hop, we're starting to see now people calling for artists to be more accountable with their messaging. And so I want to get your take on that. You know what I mean? Especially as a woman, there's so much conversation about women and how they are presented to the world, how they are perceived by the consumer, and the power that y'all as an artist have on the next generation of girls. So I want to get your take on that, especially. And then this other piece around Lenny Kravitz, I want to get your take on. As he said, he's not supported by Black award shows. He's not part of the conversation. And so getting your take on that as well. I'm gonna pick your brain. I told you I was gonna pick your brain, Tiana. So I'm gonna pick your brain a little bit to get your take on it. Stay with us, folks. More conversation with Tiana Yanni, singer and songwriter here on The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by singer-songwriter Tiana Yanni. There we go, folks. Yes. People are asking, like, wait a minute, when's she going to sing, Farajii? She needs to sing. You know, we're going to play a little something for you, for our wonderful audience here in a moment. But I wanted to continue to pick her brain because, you know, when we have an opportunity to talk to artists, right? And I don't know if you feel this weight on you as an artist, whether you're as a black woman, as an artist that is just as an artist in general. But people have a lot of expectations for artists today, right? Like fame and notoriety and being out there and showing your talent and skill is a different ball game. It's not like y'all are over here, we're over there. It's really something different, like, and that I'm seeing this dynamic. So talk to us, like, as a woman coming into this industry, you know that this industry is not always, what's the best word, respectful of women. Whether you even in hip hop or in R&B, right? We know that there is a lot of misogyny. There is a lot of just some negative things around being a woman in this space. Do you think about that as an artist? Like as you're growing and as your career is moving along, do you think about, okay, let me make sure that I'm doing something that's going to reach a little girl? Because you don't know who's listening to your music. You don't know who's riding in the car, who's downloading your music on, from Bandzoogle or checking you out on TikTok. Do you think about those things?
I definitely do. I want to be an artist that, just like me, when I was a little girl and my dad gave me that Yolanda Adams CD, or let's say someone gives someone a her CD, or a Tori Kelly CD, you want to be that artist that little girls can look up to and sing that song in the car, sing it to their grandmother, sing it to their mom. So yes, I definitely want to be a good role model for little girls.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Cindy D, one of our great culture crew members, she said, what are some of your other musical influences? What is your type of music? Is it gospel?
Yeah. So I love gospel music. I consider myself a multi-genre artist. I don't want to put myself in one box. Of course, gospel music is my foundation. I love R&B music. I love pop music. I love a little country music. So I want to dibble and dabble in some of all of that. So some of my music influences, I would say, I love Tori Kelly. I just spoke about her. I love Jonathan McReynolds. Her. Brandy is she's in my top 3.
Okay, I get it. Oh, I get it. I definitely love Brandy. I hear that. Yeah. People don't give Brandy enough credit.
And her new Christmas album.
Her Christmas album was fire like that?
It's fire. It's like Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey's Christmas album.
Whoa! Wait a minute. Hold on here, Tiana. Hold on. Let me stop. Let me take the host hats off. But wait a minute. Hold on, my sister. Hold on. You gonna put Brandy's Christmas album next to Whitney and Mariah?
Come for me. Yes. Yes.
I said what I said.
I said what I said. Yes.
That's heavy. That is really heavy. And when you look at Brandy, who has, and I have nothing but great respect for Brandy. Like I said, she just seems like she's just an all around good person. But as an artist, she has been able to redefine herself over the past, what can we say, at least 20 years, 25 years that she's really been out there as an artist and everything, to redefine herself. And for the most part, it seems like she's doing it on her terms. For the most part. Is that what you see with what I've just shared?
I definitely see that. And I don't know if you've known, but Brandy has even entertained rapping recently. And she's starting to, and I heard her say that she loves to do background more than she likes to do, lead vocals. And you really can hear that. I mean, she's always been, known for her harmonies, but you definitely can see in her last couple of albums that she's definitely entertaining the harmonies. And it's so dope. Like words do not give her enough respect for how amazing she is.
Right. Now, as an indie artist, like when you look at that, and you know one person I noticed that you didn't put into your mix of musical influences?
Cool.
The Queen.
Beyonce? Queen B? Y'all gonna get me.
Tiana, you have this look on your face. I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that. You were just like
Queen B, of course.
Queen B. Yo, okay.
Yes.
All right. I mean, I don't want your career to end before it really gets started.
I mean, you just ruined me.
I didn't ruin. I just said you didn't.
I'm over.
I was like, oh, she didn't say Beyonce. Okay, no, everybody, you like Beyonce. And how has the way she's moving now, right now, is, she's moving. I mean, of course, she's signed and everything, but she's really moving like an indie artist. And like she has gotten to a place, she has gotten to the place where she can do things the way she wants to do things. And this is a common trend that I've often heard among major artists, that you work so hard, you grind so hard in the confines of the record company's expectations and the business and all of that to get to a place to be an independent artist where you can put out the music you really want to put out. You can have the imaging and branding the way you really want to have it. And it's so funny because it's like it forces people like yourself and others who are coming into the industry and emerging within the industry to like look at that and be like, well, do I need to take that same route? Do I need to go through the route of quote unquote being the industry type of artist, or do I want to be the authentic artist that I want to be? And it seems like there's a big crossroads that stands in front of the independent artist, the indie artist nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. And some of the artists that we've just mentioned, like even when we were talking about Brandy, like she is the perfect example of not compromising and staying true to yourself.
Yeah.
So that is definitely what we need right now in the industry.
Absolutely. Now, I want to get your take on this. Lenny Kravitz was kind of in the news for the past couple of days because he had essentially said that for all that he has done for the genre of rock and roll, he's been in the industry, he's been a rock and roll artist since 1989. I did not know this until I had to read this, Gianna. 1989. And he has redefined rock and roll, especially with him being a black man. He was married to, of course, Lisa Bonet. They had a child together, but his whole branding was like he's the uber cool older rocker type of guy. And he said in his Esquire interview that it took a long time for him to get an invite to the BET Awards, to the Source Awards. It took a long time for black media to really recognize who he is and what he has done for that part of the industry. Do you feel like for a person who decides not to be in the two main genre of music, like you just said, you're a multi-hyphenated artist. So that means outside of hip hop, outside of black R&B, and I was even throwing gospel into some of that. Those are the three main genres of music. Is there a space for black artists who don't confine themselves to those three main genres? Do you believe there's a space? Do you think Lenny Kravitz is on to something there?
I definitely think he is on to something. And that is what I'm working on as well. Like realizing that we do not need to just be defined to one genre. And someone else that has done that recently, K. Michelle, she's doing country music. And she mentioned that this is something that she's wanted to do. So I am all here for exploring genres and not, confining yourself to what our community just, has always been used to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's like Andre 3000. He drops a flute album, the internet, everybody go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was, Tiana, it was like, oh snap, here's a rapper with a mouth for a flute. Oh snap, I didn't know he can actually use his mouth for a flute. Oh my gosh, he's a genius. Like, but it's game changing. It is game changing. Yeah, we're definitely here for it. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, yes, it's game changing. And I'm looking forward to in the industry, artists just like K. Michelle that is now exploring country music, And Lenny Kravitz, he was definitely onto something to even mention that and bring it to the light.
Yeah. I think he was on to something. Some people took umbrage with it. They took offense with it. But I think he was on to something. We don't talk, I'm going to be honest with you, we don't talk about Lenny Kravitz. We don't talk about, people who are in other genres of music and how they're redefining the game. Look, I got to take a final pause. When we come forward, I want to play a song by you, Tiana. I want to play a song by you. And again, folks, Tiana Yanni, her music is being featured in BET Plus's new production, Christmas Angel. Make sure y'all check this out as it's streaming now. And we're going to play a little something from Tiana so y'all can hear the vocals, hear the chords, and what she's bringing to the game. Stay with us. On the other side, it's the culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I am having some great fun with my sister Tiana Yanni, who is a singer-songwriter, and her music can be found on various platforms, but you can also hear it on BET Plus's new production, new movie, Christmas Angel, that's streaming right now. But let's play a little something. Now, this one is Christmas with You. Is that correct, Tiana?
Yes.
All right, let's hear what this. Let's hear a little something from Tiana Yanni, y'all. Christmas with You.
Dreams become reality with you, with you. True love is Christmas with you. Fa la 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 la, fa la la, fa la 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 la. I'm inspired, I admire your heart and your soul. Your strength, you're so strong. You make me stronger, you make me better. Life's so much love when we're together. Every day is like the first time. I still get butterflies, I'm still shy. I see my future in your eyes. Oh baby, my dreams come true this year with you. When I'm with you, I feel secure. Christmas with you. Dreams become reality with you. With you. True love is Christmas with you. Fa la 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 la, fa la la, fa la 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 la. Here we are now together. Let's make this last forever. Create a new love, so sweet, so pure. When I heard your heartbeat, my life felt so complete. I was in love again. We were in love again. So much to celebrate, so much to anticipate. It was love at first sight, tears in my eyes. When I'm with you, I feel secure. Christmas with you. Dreams become reality with you. With you. True love is Christmas with you. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Mm. Woo! Tiana Yachty. Oh, okay. Talk to me real quick, because that sounds like you singing to somebody. Somebody's soul is getting lifted. Somebody's heart is opening. Can the church say amen? Somebody's spirit is being emboldened. Can the church say amen? Jesus. You were inspired to sing that to somebody. That was very
Definitely.
beautiful.
Thank you.
That was very beautiful.
So, a little history on this song. Originally, this song was called With You. My producer, Al Spears, and we co-wrote this song. And when we got the opportunity to submit for Christmas Angel, we were asked to make it more Christmassy. So, originally, it just said, When I'm With You. So we changed it to Christmas With You. And the first verse originally was written for my husband. And so that's why you see me over here blushing.
There it is right there.
Yes. I was pregnant at the time. So the lyrics say, when I heard your heartbeat, my life felt so complete. And to everyone that has children out there, when you have a baby, it's like you fall in love with your spouse again. It's something about it. So when I heard your heartbeat, my life felt so complete. I was in love again. We were in love again. So much to celebrate and anticipate. So yeah, that's the history behind it. Well, it means a lot to me.
I'm blown away. It's beautiful. I can't say it enough. It's absolutely beautiful. All right, let's check in with the crew, because they the ones that really tell us where we are. And guess what? The feedback is coming in. You got the fire signs in the chat. You got people putting the heart emojis. We got the big smiley faces. My man, Real Brooklyn. Real Brooklyn's a hard brother to to get anything over to him. You know what I mean? He's been exposed to a lot of different musical tastes. He said, okay, she gave me goosebumps. That's my ears telling me she all right. Okay, she got me. It's dope. Big shout out to you, Real Brooklyn. You don't like my music. You said amazing voice, though, and a great tune.
Thank you.
That makes a lot. Lana, my sister, said she's good. Fire emojis and Christmas gift emojis. There it is, right there. Real Brooklyn also said 2 snaps with a swirl in living color approved. Oh man. And he also said she got a husband. I don't like her music anymore with laughing emojis. Don't even worry about Real Brooklyn.
I got you. I'll write some heartbreak songs.
Oh man, she's not singing to you, bro. She's not singing to you, man. Don't do that. All right, look. And I am Trinette L. Collier said, indeed, you can feel the love with fire emojis. There it is. I am Trinette L. Collier. Thank you so much for that. Man, oh man. So let me just tell you this. We know that you are a major voice. You're going to be a force to be reckoned with. You are an independent artist. How long will you plan to stay independent? How long will you kind of be on this path? Or is this just like the first phase and you want to become a more quote unquote traditional artist? What's the next step for your future, Tiana?
Yeah. So to answer your question, honestly, I'm taking it step by step. Um, I honestly don't know what's gonna happen with that, but I will 100% invest in myself as an indie artist, and we'll see what the future holds.
There
And
it
that's
is.
one
There it
thing
is.
I want to tell indie artists out there. So you really have to invest in yourself and in your brand. It's not enough just to put good music out there. Also, get some good pictures, some good artwork out there. Invest in sponsoring your videos. Invest in hiring a publicist, and like really invest in yourself. So.
Absolutely. That's some great advice right there. Lana, my sister, said support all indie artists, cancel radio music. We don't need any more radio stations telling us what to listen to. Is that something that you want to play this on the radio? Is that at least a goal for you as an indie artist, or you're just like, look, word of mouth, opportunities like this, I'd rather keep it like this versus trying to do the radio politics. How you want to take this music to that level?
Yeah, so I'm definitely here for all the streams, and I can't say 100% that I don't want radio to play the song,
Okay.
because I need all the support right now. So even for indie artists, radio play does help also.
Better presence, better representation. Indie artists drive the industry in a lot of ways because, a lot of artists don't want to be confined. A lot of artists, of course, as an artist, you're just like, look, I want to put out my own, and you're not telling me what to do or what to say or how to say it. So
Right.
I see that sentiment coming in, especially in the back into the mainstream. But it is such a pleasure to see a sister like you, a woman that is grounded, a woman that is supported, a woman that cares out there. And I always say that if artists want to show their love and respect, man, just remember that you represent us. And so,
Yes.
this is something that I definitely see in you, sister. So I appreciate your time with us today. We spent a good amount of time talking, but I really, really appreciate you as an indie artist. And this platform, this space is always open to you. So whenever you got some new music or anything that's going on in your career, Tiana, you can always say, you know what? Let me go back to Black Star Network. Let me go to culture with Farajii, and let me have a conversation because we're going to talk about the music. We're going to talk about the politics. We're going to talk about the impact that you want to make in the world. How can people check your music out? How can they, follow you on social media? Let's get all those details out.
Yes, follow me on social media at Tiana Yani. That's TIANAYANNI. Music on Instagram, and Tiana Yani on TikTok, and Tiana Yani on Facebook.
There it is right there. Tiana Yani, thank you so much for being on the show. But more importantly, thank you for being so good for the culture. Truly appreciate you, sis.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And tell your family peace and blessings as well. So thank them as well for their ongoing support of you because we need them in this process. We need them. We need tell hubby we need them.
Yes. Shout out.
Thank you, Tiana. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I think you really enjoyed the music. Make sure you put the music out there. Help her to get the streams and more importantly, get the ears listening to something different, a different understanding, a different version, a different iteration of the sound that is made famous by so many before her. But I truly believe she has what it takes to be another link in the chain to take us further along in this cultural revolution that we're seeing in the music industry. So, again, big shout out to Tiana Yani for being the person she is and being the artist she is. And we truly appreciate her time today. I want to also thank Monet Holder for joining us as well. Make sure y'all follow them on Monet on the work she's doing with Florida Rising, voting rights advocacy, and making sure that our people are engaged in the political process. So big shout out to Monet. Look, let me just tell y'all very quickly before we wrap up. We are working and getting some new voices here on the show. And a lot of those new voices are going to be some women, some dynamic women that are doing some phenomenal work. So, it's going to be super important as we go into the year 2024 that we go into the year with some new energy, with a lot of love, with a different perspective that's going to give us source. So I'm very, very excited about what's going to be happening with the show over the next couple of weeks, getting prepared for the new year and making sure that y'all going to see some new voices. You know what I'm saying? Making sure that we're going to have those important conversations. So this is just the start. And I wanted to do my part to make sure that we do support indie artists like a Tiana Yanni and others, whether it's regardless of the genre, regardless of how they, the musical talents, they need to be supported, especially if they're doing work to empower Black folks. So you'll see more of that. But over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be introducing some new voices and getting some different flavors here onto the show. So definitely check us out come 2024. But I thank you for your support today. Thank my fantastic production team for making this show possible. Make sure y'all go check us out on our website at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free. Follow us on social media. And of course, your financial donations make a world of difference for us in this digital space. So go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. And we thank you. We thank you. We thank you for your support. All right. Also follow me on social media, The Real Farajii on Instagram. I love to have some new Instagram followers, so you can follow me as well as on Twitter at Farajii. I'm on Facebook at Farajii Muhammad. We'd love to connect with you there as well. All right, stay tuned. Up next, 6 p.m. Eastern Time is Roland Martin Unfiltered. As you can see, the big guy putting in that work as he's been doing. So make sure y'all check us out there. He's been doing some fantastic streams. We've been doing a lot of Rolling with Roland. You can check this out on Black Star Network. Man, putting in a lot of work. So again, thank you for your support of the work that he's doing, that we're doing here on the Black Star Network. It means the world to difference to us. All right, as always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, will we be back tomorrow? Got my sister Suzette Speaks. Got a lineup of great topics. And we're going to have a lot of fun and a lot of great conversations tomorrow. So that'll be tomorrow here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Thank you so much for tuning in. Talk to you soon. Peace.